with a mix of unticketed and acoustic performances, all at the newly renovated pavilion in downtown Fernandina Beach. More info at ameliaisland.com/songwritersfestival. Baptist Health is a proud supporter of First Coast Connect. Baptist Health, committed to building a healthier community for all of us. More info at 202-4YOU or baptistjacks.com. The North Florida TPO is committed to shaping our transportation future. We're focused on planning, funding, clean fuels, and new technologies for a vibrant, connected community. Learn more at northfloridatpo.com.
This is WJCT News 89.9 Jacksonville. Up next, national and local news from NPR and the WJCT News team.
Good morning, I'm Ann Schindler. On today's First Coast Connect, a combative congressional address. We get political analysis and discuss key takeaways from President Trump's first speech to a Republican Congress. Then, U.S. allies in Afghanistan are some of Jacksonville's newest residents. But what happens to them now that aid to a local resettlement agency has been stopped? And creating meaningful theater around cognitive disabilities. We talk to the folks behind Theater Jacksonville's latest production. Join the conversation. Give us a call at 904-549-2937. You can also email First Coast Connect at WJCT.org or tag us on social media. It's all ahead this hour after the day's news.
NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. President Trump spent about an hour and 40 minutes last night giving his address to a joint session of Congress. It's the longest such speech in decades, and he touched on several subjects from immigration to tariffs. He also discussed Russia's war in Ukraine. Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had a fiery disagreement last week in the Oval Office. The Ukrainian leader now says that was regretful. Trump says Zelensky wrote him a letter saying Ukraine is ready to work on a peace deal.
I appreciate that he sent this letter, just got it a little while ago. Simultaneously, we've had serious discussions with Russia and have received strong signals that they are ready for peace. Wouldn't that be beautiful? Wouldn't that be beautiful?
Trump has suspended U.S. military aid to Ukraine, but today, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz says matters are moving in a more positive direction. He says the U.S. will discuss confidence-building measures and take them to the Russians. The Democratic response in Spanish to Trump's speech last night was delivered by New York Congressman Adriano Espaillat. He denounced Trump's recent executive order making English the national language, and he condemned Trump's efforts to create fear among immigrants in the U.S. The Democratic response in English was given by Michigan Senator Alyssa Slotkin, as NPR's Barbara Sprunt reports.
Throughout her speech, which she made from Wyandotte, Michigan, a place both she and President Trump won in November, Slotkin talked about concerns over the slash-and-burn remake of the federal government with what she called no oversight.
You want to cut waste? I'll help you do it. But change doesn't need to be chaotic or make us less safe.
She said Trump's actions will hurt families financially, saying tariffs will cause consumer prices to rise, and that programs like Medicare are on the chopping block in order to pay for much of Trump's legislative agenda. Barbara Sprunt, NPR News, Washington.
The Trump administration is going to shut down Pentagon programs that aim to prevent civilian deaths in combat. NPR's Quill Lawrence reports these policies began under the first Trump administration.
The Defense Department plans to shutter the Harm Mitigation and Response Office and the Civilian Protection Center of Excellence, and regional command jobs that advise how to avoid killing innocent civilians during airstrikes. That's according to 3 defense officials who spoke on condition of anonymity to discuss sensitive policy changes. These offices were created after 2 decades of counterinsurgency convinced Pentagon leaders that civilian deaths can be detrimental to U.S. military goals. But Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has focused on streamlining military approvals for airstrikes and in the past lobbied President Trump to pardon convicted war criminals during Trump's first term in office. Quill Lawrence, NPR News.
On Wall Street, stock futures are mixed at this hour. The Dow is down about 5 points. You're listening to NPR.
You're listening to WJCT News 89.9 in Jacksonville. Good morning, I'm Stephen Ponson. It's 9:04. Testing has begun on the first of JTA's autonomous electric passenger vans that will operate downtown. Right now, there's just one JTA staffer aboard the Ultimate Urban Circulators test vehicle, decorated with sensors and cameras so it safely mixes with downtown traffic. JTA Chief Development Officer Greer Johnson Gillis says not only does that person monitor how well the van does in real time and under real traffic conditions, but they can take over if someone cuts it off in traffic.
Those vehicles will sense any type of obstruction that comes in its way. It will stop for pedestrians. It'll stop for anybody crossing. It will adjust as vehicles maneuver next to it. So the driver on Bay Street, the pedestrian on Bay Street, can expect it to operate just as smooth as you and I drive in our vehicle.
The first phase of JTA's new autonomous transit system will loop between Everbank Stadium and the La Villa area. San Marco, Riverside, and Springfield routes will be added in the future. The service is expected to start this June. Some Georgia lawmakers are trying to get rid of automated cameras that enforce school zone speed limits, while other legislators want more rules for the cameras. The Georgia House passed two bills on Tuesday, one to ban school zone cameras and one to more closely regulate them. The lawmaker leading the effort to ban the cameras says their operators are more interested in making money than they are about the safety of children. Those who support additional regulations say the cameras do make drivers slow down. A line of storms will move through Jacksonville over the coming hours.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include the estate of Joan B. Kroc, whose bequest serves as an enduring investment in the future of public radio and seeks to help NPR be the model for high-quality journalism in the 21st century. This is NPR.
Support for First Coast Connect is provided in part by Baptist Health and North Florida TPO.
Good morning, I'm Ann Schindler, and this is First Coast Connect. Today, it was the longest presidential address of Congress in modern history and the most contentious. We get political analysis of what the speech tells us about the path ahead. Later in the program, we talk to a recent immigrant about the local group that helped his family with resettlement and what it means following massive cuts to that agency. But first, protesters shouted out, they walked out, one was even escorted out during President Trump's first address of a Republican Congress. Here with analysis and takeaways, we're joined by John Daigle, former political reporter and longtime political consultant here in Jacksonville. Good morning, John.
Hey, good morning, Ann.
So I would be curious just on your chief takeaways. I mean, how was what you expected to hear different from what you did hear?
I think in many ways it really depended on your perspective, your political stance in terms of what you saw last night. I mean, in a lot of ways, it felt like kind of being forced to sit through a MAGA rally. There were certainly some really good policy issues brought out last night. There were some tax cuts for car interest payments. There were childhood cancer initiatives. There were a number of things in the speech that could have appealed to both Republicans, independents, and Democrats, but they were so overshadowed by the Trumpian drama that we're used to seeing, and it actually was on both sides, which was kind of disappointing. Trump, the initiatives he talked about, tax cuts, and the long list of fraud that he allegedly has found in the USAID. Those were interesting points, but he had to blend those in together, first of all, with a lot of personal insults, calling Biden out by name, blaming Biden for the price of eggs, calling Senator Warren Pocahontas. Those are very unpresidential things that obviously his base loves, but really makes it hard for independents like me to really focus on the policy that he was discussing. There was just so much in there again, and the Democrats. I was disappointed in the Democrats who were in the galley too. I mean, I'm used to seeing that venue, that setting as a much more honorable kind of event, and it really just sort of devolved into a MAGA rally with some protesters in the galley, which did not come off to me as presidential or befitting of our Congress.
What do you think the strategy for both sides was in this setting? Do you think they came in with a strategy specific, to their goals,
Yeah.
and was it effective?
I mean, I think the Democrats, obviously, the ones who were there last night, and a number of Democrats did not show up last night. A number of them had telecasted that they were going to sit out in protest. But the ones who are there, they're obviously coming under pressure from their constituents to show some kind of resistance, even though it is clear that right now the conservatives or the Republicans have the Supreme Court, the House, the Senate, and the presidency, and they're really, other than making noise, there's really not much that Democrats can do to, quote, resist right now. Trump seems much more interested in what he can accomplish over the next 180 days versus what he can do over the next 4 years. I would have thought after his first term, when he lost the House in 2018 and basically spent the last 2 years of his first term fighting impeachment inquiries and getting almost nothing done, that this time around he would be much more interested in forming coalitions, bringing people into his camp so that he can govern effectively for the entire 4 years. But it seemed like he's much more interested in full steam ahead. What can he do between now and the midterms, and really without much concern for what's going to happen in the midterms.
If you're just joining us, we're talking to John Daigle about last night's presidential address to Congress. If you watched the speech or have comments about it, you can join our conversation. Give us a call at 904-549-2937. You can also email First Coast Connect at WJCT.org, or you can reach out on social media. You mentioned some of the partisan displays. We know that, for instance, the lawmaker Al Green was removed. There were Democrats holding up little black placards that said things like fraud and Musk steals and lies. But Trump responded, and I just kind of want to play one of those moments that you're discussing.
Sure.
Once again, I look at the Democrats in front of me, and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy or to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do. I could find a cure to the most devastating disease, a disease that would wipe out entire nations, or announce the answers to the greatest economy in history, or the stoppage of crime to the lowest levels ever recorded. And these people sitting right here will not clap, will not stand, and certainly will not cheer for these astronomical achievements. They won't do it, no matter what. Five times I've been up here. It's very sad, and it just shouldn't be this way.
Yeah, I mean, that clip was moments after, at the early part of his speech, where he asked Democrats to come on board and suggested that they should be willing to come on board and help him with his agenda. And then moments later, he essentially attacked them, as you just heard in that clip. And to me, it harkens back to something I keep hearing these days, that the current Republican Party is very good at revolution. And it seems obviously, that's what's happening right now at the federal level is a revolution, but not very good at governing. And what I heard last night was a leader who is very interested in a revolution, but not very interested in governing.
How do you see this administration's approach right now if things sort of remain on the track that they're on as you head towards the midterms?
Well, I mean, that's the question is how long, it's very easy to sign executive orders. And what I'm seeing is a president who is very interested in what he can accomplish on a temporary basis through executive orders, rather than through legislation that will last beyond, the midterms or beyond his presidency. And again, I think there's a lot. Again, the only party right now that is growing in America is independents and MPAs. And I think they will be very important in the midterms. And I just don't see anything coming out of the Trump administration that, there are some things that independents would be attracted to. He was elected on a mandate based on the economy, but 80% of his speech last night was not about the economy. He could have focused on the tax cuts that he's proposing, or reducing the deficit, or economic issues that would have appealed to independents. But instead, it was more about his work on immigration and some of his kind of disinformation points that he keeps bringing up, even though so much of what he said was easily refutable. There was a lot of good truth in what he said, but it was mixed in with so many obvious falsehoods that people who were trying to watch it objectively really kind of threw it out. I mean, my dad is the one who always told me your word is the easiest thing to give away and the hardest thing to get back. And at this point, for those of us trying to be objective and watch this, it's so hard to take him at his word because so much of what he says is mixed in with obvious falsehoods.
I want to take a call from Kendra in Mandarin. Good morning, Kendra. Go ahead.
Good morning. Good morning.
Go ahead, Kendra.
Yes, I'd like to state that it is incumbent upon a president to enact legislation and policy that benefits the American constituency. Donald Trump, regardless of what he said last night or what he says today, tomorrow, or next week, is patently a swindler who propagates disinformation and enacts policies that simply benefit himself and other billionaires. Thank you for taking my call.
Thanks, Kendra. To your point about independence, John, there was just this week released a new NPR PBS News Marist poll, and it showed that independents gave Trump and Doge and Musk, all three separately, just a 34% favorability rating. And 2/3 of independents think Trump is moving too fast without enough recognition of consequences.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that got Representative Al Green thrown out, the Texas representative who stood up at the beginning of the speech and pointed his cane at Trump and eventually was removed from the chambers, what he was shouting, you couldn't really hear it, but that Trump doesn't have a mandate. And I think Trump keeps, saying it over and over again that he has this mandate, but the fact of the matter is more voters voted against him than for him last November. And as you said, the polls, at least recent polls, have not shown in his favor. But again, I don't think Trump and his advisors are paying attention to the media that is reporting those polls. I think that the media that they're watching and that they care about are reporting other numbers.
Right. We also have a call from Philip on the west side. Good morning, Philip. Go ahead.
Good morning. I have a comment. Under Donald Trump, our country has become the selfish states of America. Lying has become the new truth, and dishonesty has become the new honesty. That's my comment.
Thanks, Philip. Appreciate it. I will note recently the opinion section of the New York Times, I think last Sunday, printed its opinion, the whole section, upside down and backwards, which is obviously a messaging from that newspaper.
Yeah, I didn't see that. On the way home last night, I did local TV analysis last night, and I was driving home last night, and I kind of put on some right-wing talk show hosts just to kind of listen to their reaction. And I think it was interesting because what I heard on the way home from the show last night was them saying, why didn't he talk more about the economy? That's what we care about. Even though immigration has always been a strong issue for him and his base, it seems to me that what the people who elected him this time want to hear more about is the economy. And he actually has some stuff he could have focused more on tax cuts. He could have explained how these tariffs are going to actually help average Americans. I know he loves the tariffs, but I think the average American does not connect how these tariffs in the long run are supposed to help them. And I think he missed some opportunities by doing that would have endeared him to his base, as well as helped him with the independents and those in the middle.
We've got a call from John in Riverside. Good morning, John. Go ahead.
Good morning. I just wanted to say this crap about dead people receiving Social Security payments is crap. My partner died on July 18th. The following week, he got his August payment. The week after that, I got a letter saying they wanted that money back, and the funds in his account were frozen until we sent it back. They know when somebody dies. They know quite a bit about it. Another side story on this, my brother worked for a charity in Los Angeles, and one day ICE raided the place. And they were like 11 people of different ages who'd all gotten their Social Security numbers in Lake Charles, Louisiana, within like an 18-month period. And they just knew this had to be fraud. As it turned out, there was a legitimate explanation about why this had happened, but they were that careful about it. They have very, very good records on it. So the problem with these stories about these long things, I have a friend, I'm 77, I have a friend who is still coding for the government because it's all in some ancient computer language that young people like Big Balls, our chief auditor, are not familiar with. And so when they go in there and search it, they're making mistakes because they don't understand. I believe it's cobalt.
Thanks for the call, John. Appreciate it. He did talk at length about fraud, listing a number of examples, John. And one of the things that he cited was these people that are over 120, some over 200 years old, listed as, people in the Social Security system. And that's sort of one of those things that, as you noted, had been pre-debunked. Those are people that typically don't have a date of death registered, as opposed to somebody who's actually receiving a payment.
I actually thought that could have been one of the highlights of the evening. He went in on this long litany where he listed a whole group of ridiculous, what seemed to be ridiculous expenses by the U.S. government that had been found during Elon Musk's Doge audits. But the problem was, if he had done that with verifiable facts, but he did that part of his speech and blended it with some stuff that had been already clearly refuted, that it sort of diluted that whole part of the speech. It made me, as someone who didn't know all the background behind all that, doubt everything he was saying, because he would say 6 different things, 2 of them which I knew were false. So I had to end up doubting that whole list of alleged savings that had been found. And it just left me feeling like, what can I believe? And again, I know his base believes everything he says, but I really believe that the audience he needs to be, worrying about right now are more the moderates and the people in the middle who will decide whether or not he keeps the House and the Senate in the midterms.
I want to take a call from Sally in Springfield. Good morning, Sally. Go ahead.
Yes, good morning. Hi. My statement is that how does an opposition party act towards an administration that is not acting normal? Outright lies. This president incited an insurrection and did nothing to help the Capitol Police for hours and hours. So what do they do? I admire the choices that they made. Some didn't go, some booed, I also like the idea of Republican Congress people are not holding town halls anymore, and that coming in to fill them are Democratic. So that is a way to do it, but I don't expect people to act like the olden days when this president is not honoring anything that we have established.
Yeah, I mean that's a very tough question, and I've been hearing a lot of debate about what is the appropriate response at this moment in time. And Ann and I were talking before the show started about a great op-ed that was in the New York Times recently by James Carville, where he argued that the best response right now for the Democrats is not the kind of vocal protest resistance we saw last night, but to let them do it. Carville's argument was, right now the current Republican Party is great at sparking revolutions, but they're terrible at governing. And his argument is, let them do it. They're really, the Democrats aren't in a position to do anything but holler and scream, and that seems to be what the MAGA base loves anyways. So why not just let them do what they're going to do? A lot of people are going to get hurt in the process, but the American people will see that they are not good at governing right now.
I want to ask you just about the pace of change that we've seen. I know that there was some strategy that was discussed by people like Steve Bannon, who's a close advisor of the president, about moving with, I think he called it muzzle velocity, saying basically if we drop 3 things a day, the media will fixate on 1, the other 2 will sort of move along, and that there's just no time for people to react or to report. And so
Yeah.
some of this stuff is
No, I
happening
mean,
without knowledge.
it's
of people.
actually a very effective strategy, and it's kind of what a lot of the media have been talking about in terms of flooding the zone. It's like trying to fact check him is almost an impossible task these days. And I think Bannon's point is right. I mean, if you move, I think in their hearts they know they have about 180 days to accomplish anything they want to do. And I think Bannon's point is move as fast as you can. Let's get as much done as we can.
What is that timeline again?
I think about 180 days is about the time period before really we begin the political season for the midterms.
Okay.
And it's really what he accomplished between now and next winter.
Okay.
And then by then, midterms will be kicking in, and as we know, not much happens in Washington in the run up for a big election cycle. So I think they know that they have a very limited window in which to accomplish anything, and if they're going to actually get stuff done, they have a few months to do it. They don't have 4 years.
Right. Got a call from Michael in St. Augustine. Good morning, Michael. Go ahead. Michael, are you there? Go ahead.
Go ahead with what?
Go ahead, Michael, with your comment.
Oh, my comment was it's just that there was a person who just made a comment on your program, and he didn't know what. Oh, and I could hear it in the background. Yeah, the computer program. The computer program is called Cobalt. Cobalt. Yeah.
You're talking about the Social Security program that was used to.
Yeah. And that came out probably about 2 weeks ago when Elon Musk had claimed that he found a number of people who were receiving Social Security checks who were allegedly 150 years old. And I think of just in a couple of days, it was debunked, which says that because of the way Cobalt is written, that sort of the default is 150. And I know nothing about technology, but the point was that anybody who understood that computer language easily understood why there were so many people listed at 150. And it was amazing that, a guy walking around wearing tech support T-shirts did not understand why there were many, many people listed at 150 years old because of that Cobalt programming.
So you did say, there's moments of policy throughout all of this. There's some congressional asks, money for deportations, tax cuts, new enhanced police protections, a crime bill that would include the death penalty for the murder of a police officer, and then also this missile defense system.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I think most people who have any military background at all understand why, a Golden Dome missile defense system over the United States is never going to happen. There was interest. He proposed, tax cuts for, again, a tax allowance for interest on car loans. That was interesting. Again, an initiative to fight childhood cancer. That could have been a highlight. Even Panama and Greenland. He could have explained why those were crucial, but he didn't. And the speech was long, so he had plenty of time to. Again, I think one of the best things he could have done is explain to the American people why his tariff idea will help our economy in the long run. He talked about tariffs and he loves them and the retaliatory tariffs coming in April, but he still, I don't think, has explained to the average person how tariffs will ultimately help their pocketbook.
Or even explained, I think, to some of the people that he's proposing taxing, kind of what purpose it serves. I mean, I know that after the stock market took a real hit, after Monday, Tuesday, then he was talking about rolling back tariffs as soon as today.
Yeah, I mean, and that's part of I mean, it's really hard to follow. And again, going back to your comment, what Steve Bannon said, it's part of the flooding the zone strategy. It's impossible to, if you can't even follow the news on a day-to-day basis, it's really hard to criticize it. And I think one of the main messages last night was full steam ahead, and from Trump, and I think their strategy is let's move full steam ahead as fast as we can do for as long as we can do it until politics gets in the way.
Well, John Daigle, it's a pleasure to talk to you. Thanks so much for coming in today after a late night and talking about the speech.
Thank you very much, Ann. Glad to be here.
All right. Up next, how changes to federal immigration policy are impacting the lives of local families. Welcome back. Well, local impacts are already being felt in the wake of major policy changes around immigration. Here to talk about it is Catholic Charities Jacksonville CEO, Anita Hassel. Good morning, Anita.
Good morning.
We're also joined on the line by Abdul Mahamadi, a father of four who arrived in Jacksonville from Afghanistan in November. Good morning, Abdul.
Good morning, ma'am, and all to you.
Abdul, your family arrived in the United States on a special immigrant visa because you were an ally of U.S. troops that were serving in Afghanistan. Can you describe some of the challenges that you faced on that journey?
Good morning to you and all who have my voice. Thank you very much for inviting me to this event. Yes, we were, I would say, flee the conflict, the war, and the, I would say, discrimination from Afghanistan. And we were, after the U.S. withdrawal, so our life was under threat. And I have a daughter who is now 17 years old. He stayed home for not, her education was banned, so he was very seriously affected. And she was not able to participate in school for around 3 years. So we came to the United States since November as part of the Enduring Welcome. And we were working with the United States mission in Afghanistan during the 20 past years mission in Afghanistan. So I came here since November as part of the U.S. RAP program, P1, P2, that was announced by President Biden. And I'm happy to be here in the United States, in the Jacksonville, and very welcomed by the U.S. and American people. Thank you.
And I know that you arrived from to Jacksonville you were initially in Qatar, and then you were at JFK Airport in New York. I imagine there's lots of paperwork and administrative actions that had to be taken. How important was having the folks at Catholic Charities helping you through that process?
Very, very important. As a new immigrant, as a new entrant to the United States from, how to say, a war-torn society. So it was very important. We were very well received and welcomed from the Jacksonville International Airport by the Catholic Charities team. So we have been placed in a temporary hotel first, and then the housing team has supported us to get a house here, and we have been fully settled here. And I think without this support, we were not able to find here our place. It was difficult for us to get some administrative registration process here. And we fully get relieved, particularly at the beginning of our arrivals here.
Right. Anita, can you describe what the work of Catholic Charities Jacksonville is and how it's been impacted by some recent policy changes?
Catholic Charities has many different programs, but one of our largest programs is refugee resettlement that has grown over the time because of the conflicts in Ukraine and in Afghanistan. So we get notification. Department of State notifies United States Conference of Catholic Bishops about arrival of refugees who are already vetted outside of the country by federal government. So when we get notification of the arrival, our team rents apartment, shows up in an airport to pick up the family and take them home. And then in the preceding weeks, we enroll children in a school. We enroll family into healthcare services. They go through orientation to American culture, and we begin working on their employment situation. So those main services for first 90 days pretty much are focused on familiarize them in life in America and build the basis. But in order for refugees not to be on a federal cash assistance, right upon the expiration of 90 days, we enroll them into next program called Match Grant Program, where we prepare refugees and assist them in finding employment and for them to become self-sufficient. And in addition to that, we provide English as a second language. We provide extended case management services. And basically, the beauty of the process is we don't do everything for refugees. We work with the refugees, we support them, but basically we wanted them to learn how to manage, life on their own. So pretty much that, and we're always there for them. If they have any type of the issues, if they need any assistance, they can always come back to our agency, and we will always be there for them.
So that's the work that you do. How has the work that you do changed in the last month or so?
Dramatically. First, on January 24th, when President issued executive order on immigration that put complete stop on the new arrivals to United States, which means large number of refugees who were already approved to come to United States are kind of stuck in a limbo. And also, as a result, we have not gotten reimbursement for our services that we already rendered in the month of December and January, and now February. So that led to us having no choice but to letting go about 26 people on our staff because we just had no funds to support them and there were no arrivals. So, but what was the worst, in our opinion, is the impact it had on the current refugees who came prior to January, for whom we had no money to assist with the housing. We had very limited staff to assist them with other components that I just described. We kept skeleton crew because we couldn't just abandon the group. We had 49 families, which is about 500 people who kind of got stuck in the situation. So we start, putting plea out for funds so we could at least do the services that were promised to them. Then another big shock came when on the February 27th, Department of State, which is federal agency that provides funding for the program, completely dismantled cooperative agreement with voluntary agencies, which means it would complete stop to everything that we do. So currently we have, as I mentioned, 45 families. We are visiting with our donors, we are visiting with foundations, and we're trying to raise enough money to support them.
So you say 49 families who are currently here had been receiving this assistance, but about 500 people total. And
Yes.
that's because these families are coming, as Abdul's family did. He has 4 children and a wife, so there's 6 of them altogether. And so there's a lot of kids in the mix here.
Absolutely.
What is happening to those children? And what is the concern if funding doesn't resume and these services aren't available any longer?
Well, the concern is, any family that came here in less than 90 days, those are the families with whom we work the most intensively. If the services don't resume, we will have to completely shut down any component of refugee program. So we will no longer be able to assist because we won't have, funds for overhead operations and to assist them. And that same situation is our other local agency providing services, Lutheran Services. They also have refugees that they cannot serve. And it's been quoted that across United States, that is 6,700 refugees in that situation. So it's a large number of people who will not be assisted.
And so rental assistance, you say, is one of the services that you provide in these initial kind of crucial early months. If the rent is not available, what actually does happen to the families?
They will become homeless. They could, we would direct them to other services because they are documented, so they legally in this country. So we will try to provide assistance as to any other American citizen to grants that are focused on preventing homelessness. But we do have refugees that are very close to just basically become homeless.
Now, people can tell from your accent, perhaps, Anita, that you are yourself an immigrant to this country. You're originally from Poland.
Yes, that's correct.
What can you tell us about your experience as an immigrant to the United States that helps inform the work that you do with Catholic Charities?
Well, it's a huge adjustment. And I have to say, refugees don't come to America because they want to. I'm not saying they don't want to, but it's not chasing American dream. You leave your country because you have no other choice and you miss your country and you hope you will be able one day to come back. And when you come, you work very, very hard to find employment. You are helped with the housing for first 90 days. We were fortunate because we did have a friend in Kentucky who assisted us with this. But the first few weeks where your world is completely upside down, when you don't understand many things. I do remember we were walking on the street and people were smiling and saying hi, and we were like, well, why would they laughing at you? I don't know you. So many little situations like this, but it's very challenging process. One thing is there is this huge gratitude that America gave us opportunity to have safe life, huge gratitude that our children will be born and raised in a safe environment. And when I look at our refugees today, when they come in a family, they become very hardworking people and they do everything to provide the best education for their children.
Abdul, I want to ask you about your experience as well, coming to the United States, and particularly how your children are adapting. How easy or difficult has that adjustment been?
Thank you. They have been enrolled in school since our arrival here, maybe after a few weeks, but they are adapting. Also, they are facing challenges. So, I have 3 children have been already enrolled in school. 2 of them are young, so I work with their English language in Afghanistan, but they're, adapting well here. Although my elder daughter has some challenges because she have been enrolled in 11th grade, and the 3 years education gap is still a big challenge for her, I know. But she's trying. We are trying to best support her to continue his education here. And also my smaller daughter is also she's learning quickly the English language and to adapt in the school and the education culture here. That's good. But again, as I'm said from Catholic Charity, still we are feeling now as a father of this 6 family members. I'm feeling a big pressure on my shoulders that now after that much grant is cut it. And it's not my voice; it's also some of my other refugees who have connection with there from Afghanistan. Is that we are now feeling hopelessness and maybe homelessness. So if we cannot provide the rent of our apartments and the basic costs, then how we can survive here? It's difficult. So finding a job is challenging here. And I hope that we get more support from Catholic Charity or from other organizations that we should be well settled here. And then I think that's the most important challenge for refugee families. That finding job is very important here. And I think receiving new immigrants by Catholic Charity and other organizations who are supporting new immigrants. It's very important that I think a kind of skill analysis needs to be required at the beginning. Whom the clients they are receiving, some may have the basic skills here, the English language or others. So I myself have I know English language here. I have my master's degree in agriculture. I have worked for more than 16 years in development international organizations, but it's a challenge to find a job here. So at the beginning, the focus is very important. That how we should be, our skills should be utilized here, and more networking and more support is required in order to reduce dependency on grants on federal funds. So I think new migrants need jobs. That can ease our lives here. Thank you.
Sure, Abdul. And I want to ask you, I know that this country has been increasingly adverse to illegal immigration. Do you find that your status as a legal and vetted immigrant that you're sometimes mixed up with or confused with or seen as an illegal immigrant or treated differently?
I'm applying through different platforms, and even I physically visited some where I think some like Walmart, Winn-Dixie, or other parts that I think I can work, but they are looking at where have the legal documents here where we are illegal immigrants or illegal immigrants. So after the new administration and even how to say the president decree, the community is viewpoint changes against immigrants, whether they think that all immigrants are somehow they are illegally in the United States. But we are here, have the legal status here. We have come through a special entry visa here. I think that the general point of view in the society also changed against immigrants. It's my understanding, basically.
Yeah. Anita, how do you see that impacting your clients? Have you seen attitudes change? Do you find it's more difficult to explain to people the vetting and approval that these clients of yours have received?
So our clients are very concerned. They understand the situation. They need support. They don't know what's going to happen. But we do a lot of education. I mean, we had interviews with newspapers, with TV, and always the point of focus is to explain to everyone the difference. The refugees escape the prosecution. They are vetted outside of the country. They come with the full documentation. So we do a lot of education. Yeah. And then there always are questions. There are always unpleasant calls and, what are you doing? And the Catholic Charities, there was a campaign launched to discredit Catholic Charities in all United States. So we do lots of repairing of the opinions and explaining. There were suggestions that we help illegal, I hate the word, undocumented immigrants to escape illegally through the border, and then we also help to resettle them all over the United States, which is not true.
I would guess it must be particularly difficult for immigrants and their families like Abdul's, who were in fact allies and, worked so closely with the troops in Afghanistan, the U.S. troops in Afghanistan, and who were promised that they would be offered some refuge because their lives were in danger.
Yes, it's very difficult. They all are like this. All of our refugees escape some type of the fear for their lives and prosecution. So it is difficult. They were promised assistance, and now we cannot deliver our promise as we would wish to.
So there is a lawsuit that has been filed in this case by the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, and they're seeking basically the pay that has already been spent, that they're owed, and a lifting of these restrictions. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. And so what stage is that at? And I mean, we all know that the legal system can move at a somewhat glacial pace. So what is the sense that this legal effort could actually, restore funding and restore the flow of these people who are stuck in limbo anytime soon?
So there was a hearing, but in current situation, those are such unprecedented times that we are cautiously positive, but with determination of the contract between Department of State and voluntary agencies, the chances look pretty slim at this time.
And so you are working to raise funds locally.
Yes,
You're looking for
we
some.
do.
How are you doing? How are you going about that?
We visit we have meetings with our donors, with foundations, explain the situation, and ask if they would be willing assist us with paying for the services provided to refugees. So we're really not asking for overhead funding. We just want to be able to finish the services that were promised to our refugees, and then mostly looking for the grants and donations.
And just briefly, is there an opportunity for people, for instance, if they're listening and they wanted to help either offer employment or housing of some kind, what would they do to reach out?
call us at 904-899-5500, and we can immediately connect you with whichever assistant would you like or willing to provide.
Well, Anita Hassel with Catholic Charities Jacksonville, Abdul Mohammadi, thank you so much for being here today. Good luck to you both.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Thanks for having us made to your program, and have a good day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Up next, creating meaningful theater around cognitive disabilities. We preview a new production at Theater Jacks.
Amelia Island presents Concours Week, March 5th through 9th, featuring rare and vintage autos, vehicle auctions, road tours, and more, culminating in the 30th annual celebration, the Amelia Concours d'Elegance. Details at ameliaisland.com/Concours Week. USF College of Public Health, Florida's top-ranked public health degree program per U.S. News, offering online, on-campus, and hybrid degrees. More at publichealth.usf.edu.
No matter what you're in the mood for, NPR's got you covered. You can go back in time with Throughline.
The Crusader Army encircled the city and its high walls.
Debrief with Pop Culture Happy Hour.
It was hard for me to take too seriously.
And, of course, stay up to date on the news.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Janine Herbst.
Support your listening habit by giving to this station today.
Visit us at wjct.org/radio.
We are deconstructing the deep state, we're demolishing the deep state, and we are rebuilding this constitutional republic behind Donald Trump.
FBI Director Kash Patel wants to go after President Trump's enemies, so he's a lot like J. Edgar Hoover, the FBI's notorious first director, according to some historians. Others disagree, saying Patel wants to weaponize the FBI so completely, even Hoover would disapprove. That's on the next On Point.
Today at 11, here on WJCT News 89.9.
Donald Trump has delivered his first joint address to Congress since winning the election. It's a big moment for any president, an opportunity to speak to the nation and to lay out his plans for the next 4 years. I'm Jen White. We break down the policies, the politics, and spectator surprises and take your calls live next time on 1A.
Today, starting at 10 on WJCT News 89.9.
Welcome back. Well, a new local stage production tackles a poignant and sometimes humorous story of life in a group home for men with cognitive disabilities. Here to tell us more is Sarah Boone, Executive Director of Theater Jacksonville. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning.
We're also joined by cast member Greg Hewitt, who plays Mr. Klemper in the
Good
show.
morning.
Good morning, Mr. Klemper.
Thank you.
This is a challenging production, Greg. I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about, first of all, how you got involved and what your role is vis-a-vis the other characters.
Yeah, certainly. I relocated to Jacksonville just under 3 years ago. Reached out to the theater immediately to help volunteer. Was fortunate to get cast in a production in the 103rd season, and this is now my 4th production. The community at Theater Jacksonville has just been amazing. They do a great work from a volunteer standpoint, very supportive. Really excited when they put a show on like this just because of the group that comes together to build the set and the costumes. It's really, really phenomenal.
And tell us a little bit about this show and what your character is.
Certainly, yeah. So the show itself, The Boys Next Door, focuses on a home of men who are mentally challenged and the social worker that helps them get through their daily lives. My particular character is Mr. Klemper. So my son is in the house, in the home. He's one of the boys next door. And I come and visit, and we have a very traumatic interaction, let's say.
Yeah, you have a difficult relationship,
Yeah.
which is sort of intertwined with his mental illness.
That we uncover that throughout that scene.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay. Sarah, I want to ask you about staging a production like this because obviously the characters are portraying people with cognitive disabilities. That could be a very dicey idea
Right.
if not executed correctly and thoughtfully. So how do you approach it and how did you go about trying to find the correct cast?
Sure.
So every year we think about putting a show into the season that deals with an issue, a social issue. So that's where this show falls in our season this year. And we've actually produced it since in my tenure. We have done this show before,
Okay.
and it was a very successful event for us. And one of the actors in the show, his name was Brad Trowbridge, and he played one of the lead characters, and he has since passed on, and he gave us a legacy gift. So we're doing this then in honor of Brad's legacy at the theater, because he was an actor in this community for many years, back to the 80s. So that's the reason that it got put in the season. But we also want to talk about people in a way that is supportive, and people who have challenges. They may be different, but all of us are different from each other. No one is lesser. So that's how we go forward with this play. And it's a snapshot into the lives of these men, and there's a lot of humor in it. And we are everybody has their foibles, and everybody is treated with respect and dignity, and that's why this show works.
And I know that over the years that this show has been in production, and it may be true from your last production to this current one, that interpretations have changed. Certainly our sensibilities have changed. Our awareness of, certain ideas surrounding cognitive disabilities or mental health have changed. Do you find that the characterization of the men in the group home is different than it was when you staged it the first time?
I think so, yes. Yes, it is. And we are very, very cognizant of the society now. And again, and it's a better place. We're in a better place now in how we talk about different things in our society, and we did approach it differently. And again, I keep using these words: respect and dignity, and that is how all of these characters are represented. And then when Mr. Klimper comes in, we see an issue. We see how society can look differently and not in a good way, and what happens because of that. And we want all of these people to succeed. And that's the key to this play, and that's why Jack, the social worker, is in there, giving them support every time one of them stumbles, and he's there to help them, and they're there to help each other.
But you're kind of the evil Mr. Klemper, is that right?
Well, that's fair to say, but
typecasting, right?
Well, perhaps. But he does have his own issues he's dealing with, and some of that does come out in the characterization, because I think all characters, even if they're evil, they do have some
complexity.
Yeah, so it's not just the evil part that we get to see.
And what do you reach for in yourself as you're presenting that on stage as the character?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a moment that he snaps, and so I just try to think about moments where that's happened to me, maybe not as violently, but certainly you have that moment where you look back and, wow, I wish that hadn't occurred, and then what drove me to that point. But one thing I do want to add to what Sarah was saying, the playwright itself has done a great job of showing these characters as people like all of us that just have aspirations. And as you're watching it, you forget that they're challenged necessarily, but they're just trying to improve or do things. And it's a really wonderful play.
Because they're not treated as they're not treated as other.
Yeah.
That is the beauty of this play. And every one of those characters has a journey, just like all the characters in the plays that we do.
And this opens this Friday.
Friday, yes.
And runs through
3 weekends,
yes.
Weekends. So it's Friday and Saturday, and then Thursday through Sunday.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Sarah Boone, Greg Hewitt, Break a Leg.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
All right.
Pleasure.
And that's our program. Thank you for listening. If you have comments or questions, you can send either to First Coast Connect at WJCT.org, or you can reach out on social media at any time. Join us tomorrow when we discuss the latest medical headlines.
Coast Connect is provided by Baptist Health and the North Florida TPO.
Baptist Health is a proud supporter of First Coast Connect. Baptist Health, committed to building a healthier community for all of us. More info at 202-4YOU or baptistjacks.com. The North Florida TPO is dedicated to transportation planning, funding, clean fuels, and new technologies for a vibrant, resilient, and connected region. More information available at northfloridatpo.com. Congaree & Penn, dedicated to agriculture and culinary endeavors, offering field-to-fork dining and outdoor experiences on over 300 acres. Sip, dine, explore. Information at congareeandpenn.com.